Hey, this is Coach Joe Doncaster-born, but built for theme parks, and welcome to this very special video. Now, you saw in an earlier video a few days back about the Alton Tower CBeebies Land Dark Ride concept that I created. Well, this is a similar video, however, this is the possibility of the Thorpe Park Dungeon. Now, of course, we already know about the Alton Towers dungeon, but I sort of created my own concept as to what I would love to see as my version if I was creating a Thorpe Park dungeon. Now, as you'll see in the image, the image that I screenshotted as to where the location would be, it's replacing the I'm a Celebrity building, as well as stretching that building back into the tree line. So, I hope you bear with me. So, the queue line entrance and pre-show. So, let's start with that. So, the queue line includes a horror-composed soundtrack to ambiance the experience. The entrance is like an abandoned house entrance, and guests enter into a front desk at the door of the house with a costumed actor asking for the shillings needed or if they've booked their execution online. So you can see I've sort of gone with the dungeon theme here. Then sending them in and wishing they survived before guests enter the pre-show / waiting area, where they also hand in their bags to the horror hold, which is of course the baggage hold. So I've thought way too much about this, I'll pre-warn you. The pre-show starts when the group is full, with the flickering lights in the waiting area turned off, with a narrative voice exclaiming the rules and regulations, as well as teasing the experience before the lights come on and a guide appears out of nowhere. And again, I'll have to sort of mention there will be like a cue board like all the other rides at Thorpe Park outside, as well as doing the rules on the narrative voice. There will be a board to sort of show the rules. He or she, whoever it is with the guide, says you are ready to lead into the horrible history this House of Horrors showcases before leading you into the first room. Now, pre-warner, I've done loads of research on this, like the CBeebies Land Dark Ride concept video. I've done way too much research into London's horrible history, specific things, and I've come up with 5 brilliant scenes before exiting into the tavern gift shop, which I'll go on about at the end of the video. So let's move into the first scene then, which is the Black Death Doctor. Where you're led into a surgical room, and a psychotic looking and sounding surgeon explains the Black Death and the cures they had for it with the throwing of comedy scripted parts. So again, this is linking to what I did with the York Dungeon review and when I experienced the Plague Doctor in the York Dungeon. A guest is told to come and sit in the chair as the actor pulls the curtain around the chair so no one sees them. When lights go off, blood splatters onto the rest of the guests before leading out onto the next scene. So again, this is linking back to the York Dungeon. Going into the next scene, the Great Fire of London, where they're led into a room where guests sit on benches in front of a massive screen. The screen projects the story of the Great Fire of London, and towards the end, the room projects fire onto the walls as if the building is on fire, and the room temperature changes to scalding hot before guests are ushered into the next scene, which is the Great Smog. Now, an actor waits for them in the next room to tell them about the Great Smog, and as he goes on, the smoke machine begins to spray smoke, seen as smog, into the room. As the room fills with smoke, they are ushered into the penultimate scene. Now this is one of the 2 main scenes that I created and storyline based on the history. This is the Jack the Ripper scene. So this starts when a Victorian dressed actors urge the guests to raise their hands to the overhead bar and wait to hear this gruesome tale. As the tale of Jack the Ripper is read out, lights flicker and go off before a voiceover as Jack warns guests before getting ready to kill. After one strike, there's leg ticklers and jet sprays on the back of the seat. So you can see it's going to be a specific ride system for this. After strike 2, the seats tilt 90 degrees so the seats face the floor, which is projecting running and dripping blood to create a pool of blood before the seats return to normal and guests are released of the restraints and are ushered into the final scene. So this final scene is based around the 1800s into the 1900s. And this is the public hanging scene. This is the finale of the attraction. So after climbing a staircase to a certain height, you can see where this is going. They're led into a chamber and are ushered into their seats and told by actors dressed in 1800s clothes to wait for the safety bar to lower down to experience the punishment of death. So a themed safety warning in a way. A voiceover narrates about public hangings and goes on to say the guests are guilty of having fun in this House of Horrors and the punishment is death. A vintage drum roll sounds before the lights go off and they drop on a drop tower system. So this is linking back to the drop rides, the drop dead rides at the other dungeons in real life, and of course like the Nemesis Subterra drop tower system at Alton Towers that used to operate. how there'd be a bit of a pre-show bit before you drop. And then at the bottom, after the drop ride system, they're said to have survived for now and are free to leave the House of Horrors and are led into the tavern gift shop, which of course has Thorpe Park Dungeon merchandise at the front. And at the front, near the attraction exit, there's a photo collection point from the drop tower section of the ride, and they can now leave out to the gift shop and back out to the park. So that's my concept for the Thorpe Park Dungeon. As I've said, like the CBeebies Land Dart ride, when I was researching the different shows and things like that for the different scenes in the Dart ride, with this I've looked at London horrible history, I've looked at historic moments, to sort of narrow it, because I'm a Celebrity, even if you extend the building, I'm a Celebrity is not a massive building, so you have to be careful as to how much you expand onto you know, the new building. Sort of how would you create the new building for the dungeon. Now the reason I put it in the I'm a Celebrity building is because that's the one that's available, and of course I've seen the tree room at the back of I'm a Celebrity. Of course, this used to be home to Mrs. Fungal's Driving Safari, round that area. So when they sort of closed that and sort of had the building round there used for asylum, you know, it was a big site. Put it that way, it was a big site. So I knew they had to sort of use most of the site if they were going to build a new building from scratch. So that's sort of how I came up with that site being used. I mean, some people would have commented on this video and said, why aren't you replacing Darren Brown's Ghost Train? It's too new. It's too new. And Darren Brown's Ghost Train has its own system, has its own storyline, has its own way of thinking. So I wanted to do something a little bit different from the usual predicted building. Oh, we'll replace Darren Brown with a dungeon. It's not like that. It's completely different. So there we go. So that's my concepts on the Thorpe Park Dungeon. Again, like I said, loads of research put into it. So if you want me to do more of these ride concept videos, feel free to comment down below. Because comment down below your ideas, because I would love to do more of these videos because it's so much research put into it. The series came to my head last week when I was sort of thinking, oh, what about CBeebies Land Dart Ride? What about a Thorpe Park Dungeon? I thought, let's do both and let's put them into a brand new series on the channel. So I hope you guys love this series. I hope you love this ride concept series. I'm not sure what we're going to call it yet. The title of the series may already be in the playlist, but I'm not sure what we're calling the series yet. What might be, I don't know. I'll have to spend time thinking about that. So thank you very much for watching this video on what could be the Thorpe Park Dungeon. I can't wait to do more of these rare concept videos in the future. Again, if you've got any ideas, comment them down below. Can't wait to hear your suggestions. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss a video. And my name is Coaster Chell. Keep living the coast life, dudes, and I'll see you guys in the next video soon. Take care. Have an awesome day, my friends.